Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Wekiva High School welcomes you once again to Mustang Arena for Varsity men's basketball. Please welcome our guests once again from Evans High School. They are the Trojans. And they'll be taking on your Wekiva High School Mustangs. Before we begin our game this evening, let's meet the starting lineups for both teams. We'll begin with our guests from Evans, and we'll start at guard with 5'9" sophomore number 2, Avery Anderson. At forward, 6'6" senior number 3, Collis Griffin. At guard, 5'9" sophomore number 4, Jashawn Melvin. At guard and small forward, 6'2" senior number 5, Surrey Washington. And finally, for the Trojans, at guard, 6'1" senior number 22, Deshaun Osborne. And the Trojans are headed by Coach Morgan. And now let's meet the starting lineup for your Wekiva High School Mustangs. Starting at small forward with 6' junior number 1, Donovan Stokes. At point guard, 5'10" sophomore number 3, Jamaric Hammond. At shooting guard, 5'10" junior number 4, Quantari Roberson. At power forward, 6'2" junior number 12, Nikhil Edward. And finally for the Mustangs at power forward, 6'3" junior number 21, Asael Caballero. Is that important? Do we need that? Game ball? The Mustangs are coached by Mr. Jacino Lubin and assistant coaches Charles Hardy and Dwayne Howard. The officials for today's game are from the Central Florida Officials Association here in Orlando. If you have friends and family unable to join us in person today, make sure you shoot them a message right now and let them know that we are live streaming on both the NFHS network as well as YouTube Live. Just go to YouTube and search for Wekiva Sports on your favorite computer, smart TV, or mobile device. Or if you are a member of the NFHS network, you can also go there and search for either Wekiva or Evans. And good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. Mark Farchi, the voice of the Mustangs, here along with Neil Fisher from the Apopka Chief, and we're ready to take you through tonight's men's version of Mustangs versus Trojans. But before we do anything, Neil, you're not even going to get to introduce yourself because the Mustangs have rudely fouled in the first 11 seconds. Foul called against number 12, Nikhil Edward, his first and the team's first.
Okay, now can I?
Yeah, go ahead, Neil. I think they're going to leave you alone for a second.
And again, hello to the audience out there. It's good to be back at Mustang Gymnasium. Wekiva getting a break there as the free throw was missed. Of course, this is the third and final contest of the triple header.
Putback made for the Mustangs by Asael Caballero. And just like that, Wekiva's on the board.
So the JV boys started off tonight's action. Evans took that victory, and then the last game was the varsity ladies. Wekiva took that victory rather easily.
Jashawn Melvin puts the Trojans on the board.
So this is really the rubber match. Of course, as we mentioned throughout that ladies' game, this is a completely different situation, complete opposite. Wekiva, of course, comes in with a 2-12 record. Their only victories, oddly enough, coming against the teams you probably least expect them to win. That was Leesburg and Lake Minneola at the Florida Prospects Holiday Classic last weekend.
Second chance basket scored by Nikhil Edouard.
And so far, a pair of offensive rebounds have been turned into field goals. Evans, on the other hand, of course, they come in looking like they always do. A record of over 10 wins. What's the record? What's the record? So Evans, of course, is always expected to make not just get into the FHSAA postseason tournament, but expected to make a long, deep run in the tournament.
We don't have this confirmed yet. We'll get it confirmed later. But according to Max Preps, they are 8-6 right now.
So again, not quite up to the expectations as far as the record, but still quite a bit better than Wekiva at 2-12.
Edouard misses here. Rebound goes to Collis Griffin. And yeah, Neil, as you alluded to earlier, a little bit of an unusual format for this game. We do triple headers all the time. They're usually freshman JV varsity. This time we gave the freshmen a break and did both girls and boys on the same night. A little bit of an efficiency. And we're going to have Collis Griffin for 3.
Evans takes their first lead of the ball game. So again, another thing that is different than in years past too, Mark, and we mentioned this throughout the ladies' game, the FHSAA reduced the number of classifications from 9 to 7, so that also shook up the districts. Pretty much the traditional pairings are no longer in existence.
Yeah, this has been a district game for the last several seasons, but no more. However, because of another change the FHSAA made this year, it still counts. Even as a non-district game, it factors into the Max Preps point system and into the rankings. We're going to get a block here by Deshaun Osborne, and that'll send it back to the Trojans. 3 in transition is way off the mark, and the rebound goes over to Nikhil Edouard. So every game counts this year, Neil, whether it's district or not, whether it's in a holiday tournament or the team from across the street or the team from the other side of the state. It doesn't matter. All games count in the Max Preps rankings, which is a mystery to everyone, at least in large part. We are led to believe that it is somewhat similar to the RPI system that the FHSAA used for football, where your own record weighs in the most heavily, then your opponent's records, and then your opponent's records. But the precise formula is proprietary. Nikhil Edouard under the basket for 2.
And so, Mark, also getting back to the teams no longer being district, these teams are not only, they're not in the same district, even though they're only about 8 miles apart.
Deshaun Osborne for 3, the pass from Anderson.
They're no longer in the same classification, so if you're not in the same classification, then you're not going to be in the same district.
Correct. Classifications are based strictly on enrollment, as a steal gets picked up here by Anderson. He's going to try to go coast to coast, but it bounces out, and Jamaric Hammond gets the rebound. So that means, Neil, that it is not possible for these two teams to meet in the postseason. They are going to be playing in 2 separate and distinct brackets that will never meet, because Wekiva's enrollment fell just a little bit as of fall 2018, which is the last measurement period we had available when these agreements were locked in. But again, this is a crosstown rivalry. This is a tradition. This game gets played every year. And so regardless of whether these two teams are in the same district or not, don't expect that tradition to stop.
And one more note too, Mark, as we go to about 2.5 minutes in the first quarter. This does remain, though, a Metro Conference contest.
Yes, the Orlando Metro Conference being made up of all of the public high schools in Orange County, as we get a 3-point basket from Jamaric Hammond, the pass from Stokes.
And as I like to say, Mark, stop, pop, and drop there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the Orlando Metro Conference really more for bragging rights than it is for anything else. There's no tournament that comes at the end of that, but they do, based on the regular season records among Metro Conference schools, crown a champion in the East and the West divisions. And the Mustangs and the Trojans will both continue to be Metro West schools and will continue to compete against each other for those bragging rights.
So both teams here off to, I'd say, a little bit below average field goal percentage-wise. Score certainly resembles that equality of the field goal percentage.
That'll help. Q Roberson from under the basket for two.
Nice move there by Q, dropping that shoulder and leaning into the basket.
Collis Griffin through traffic from the key.
And now, as soon as I said both teams are probably shooting a little bit below average, they heat up here.
I believe that was a 3-second violation. We're going to get some personnel changes here. Osborne gets his own rebound. Collis Griffin picks up two. The pass.
The interior defenser failed to rotate over quick enough. And again, that's some of the lessons that this young team is learning. Hammock.
Jamaric Hammond for three.
And that's another lesson this young Wekiva team is learning how to answer.
Collis Griffin gets the basket and a chance to make it a three-point play. Foul is called against Mustangs number 21, Asael Caballero. That's his first and the team's second. Three-point play won't convert. Jared Bryan gets the rebound.
That's a point left on the table there. Break for Wekiva. Coach Lubin yelling for his team to shoot the ball. Unfortunately, they're just not able to get the ball to the open shooter there.
That takes us to the end of the first period, and we are no closer to determining a winner than we were 8 minutes ago. 14-14 is the score at the end of the opening 8 minutes. The Mustangs have the opening possession of the second quarter. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. Mark Barchi here with Neil Fisher. And we had, I would say, a reasonably good contest. Offensively, maybe not as dynamic as each team would have liked, but a well-balanced contest and still a fun one to watch.
Yeah, as I mentioned, the field goal percentage a little bit below average. But definitely reflects the score, 46% for Evans, 6 of 13 Wekiva 6 of 14, 43%.
Jashawn Melvin with the first points of the quarter.
Wekiva holding a slight advantage in rebounding 9-6, and both teams did a good job of taking care of the ball. Only 2 for each team, 2 turnovers. So
Jashawn Melvin is fouled on the attempt to go to the line and shoot 2. The foul is called against Mustangs. Number 10, Isaiah Laster, his first, the team's third.
So I certainly would say the first quarter was a very spirited quarter by both teams.
Daniel tries to get inside, can't get anything there.
So Wekiva certainly has to be careful here. You've seen 6 straight points by Evans, and you don't want those 6 straight points to turn into the run which ultimately decides the outcome here. Wekiva's done a very good job of matching Evans as far as possession for possession, but now they're starting to make some mistakes, not necessarily turnovers.
Malachi Hampton is called for traveling. Trojans ball, returning to the game for the Mustangs, Donovan Stokes.
Both teams have gone man-to-man.
Arthur Johnson.
And now Evans has scored 10 straight, and of course, Coach Lubin immediately jumped up and called for the timeout.
30-second timeout requested by the Mustangs. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Mustang Arena. Wekiva is going to try to stop the bleeding here as Evans is currently on a run.
Wekiva absolutely needs a bucket here. And I'm not sure exactly why that shot was thrown up there. Just not a smart shot there. No penetration. Settling for those low percentage shots.
Mustang basket by Isaiah Laster.
So
strike that, Q. Roberson.
So all works out for Wekiva's good there, but again, you can't keep getting away with bad shot selection on every possession.
Offensive foul is called against number 4, Jashawn Melvin, his first, the team's first.
Again, both teams have gone man-to-man throughout this game. Half court, though.
Jashawn Melvin draws the foul. He'll go to the line and shoot 2.
So
Foul called against number 1, Donovan Stokes. His first, the team's 4th.
So Melvin gets the reward on the other end. He came down with the rebound on Wekiva's end. And now he will go to the line. Melvin now with 10 points. He's 3 of 4 from the field, 3 of 3 from the free throw line, make that 4 of 4. And right now, Marcus, we had halfway through the second quarter, the difference has been field goal percentage. Wekiva, as I mentioned, shot reasonably well, 43%. They're well below that. I would imagine they're under 20 now as they've missed 5 field goal attempts, make that 6. So certainly Wekiva's lost their Midas touch here.
Arthur Johnson draws the foul. He'll go to the line and shoot 2. Isaiah Laster is called on his 2nd, the team's 5th.
So Johnson with a pair of points, 2 points along with 1 rebound. He's only taken 1 attempt from the field. Oh, a break there for Wekiva. Could have been an 11-point lead, remains at 9. And so both teams again remain in man-to-man defense. Wekiva again not looking to get inside. Not very much penetration, settling for those long-range shots.
Hold is called against number 12, Nikhil Edward, his 2nd, the team's 6th. In for the Mustangs, number 32. Wait, who's 32? Who's 32?
32 is Malachi Hansen.
Oh. Okay, wait, I have that. Hold is called against number 5, Surrey Washington. That's his first personal foul. It's the team's third. Foul again called against Surrey Washington, now his second, the team's fourth. Tristan Bryan and one.
22.
Foul called against number 22, Deshaun Osborne, his first. Henry Calixte down the baseline for a Trojan layup. Timeout, Mustangs. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. Buck 14 remaining in this first half. Mustangs trying to come back from an earlier Trojan run that happened early in the second quarter. Put back by Jamaric Hammond. Deshaun Osborne for three from Henry Calixte. Hold was called against number 2, Avery Anderson. That's his first. The team's fifth. Tristan Bryan gets the last word of the half, and that takes us to halftime. And after an early run by the Trojans early in the second quarter, the Mustangs have cut it back to 7. 23-30, the Mustangs trail going into the locker rooms. Just now. Yes. I thought you were looking at it, sorry. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. The Trojans have the opening possession of the third period. Leading by 7. Still very much anybody's game, but the Mustangs will need to do something they have struggled with so far this season, and that is to have a strong second half. Washington on the swing to Melvin. Trojans seem content to take their time, and Neil, as I was just reminding our viewers, the Mustangs have struggled in the second half so far this season as Jashawn Melvin opens up third quarter scoring for the Trojans.
Nice move there by Melvin. And yeah, Mark, they've had a number of games that they were, I'd say, no more than 3 possessions behind at halftime, only to lose by over 20. But again, looking at the stats, the second quarter so far has been the deciding stretch of time here.
Donovan Stokes puts the Mustangs on the board for the third quarter.
Wekiva and Evans were actually tied at 14-14 at the end of the first quarter. Wekiva was shooting 43%. They actually dropped to 32 in that second quarter. They're now only 10 of 31 from the field. Respectable from two-point range, 8 of 18, but 2 of 13 beyond the arc. In the meantime, Evans pretty much maintained their field goal percentage. Exactly the same, 46 at the end of the second. At the end of the first quarter, 46%, 46% at halftime. 11 of 24, shooting a blistering 7 of 14 from two-point range.
Jamara Hammond for 3 on the pass from Asiel Caballero.
So as it seems to always be the case, I come out, talk about Wekiva having trouble with their field goal percentage, and Hammock drains the tray, which is now answered.
Collis Griffin on a jumper from Melvin for the Trojans.
And the other advantage statistically that Evans has, granted it's not as big as the field goal percentage, but free throw percentage has certainly complemented that field goal percentage. 4 of 7 for Evans, while Wekiva actually is 100%, but they've only taken 1 free throw attempt.
Deshaun Osborne picks up 2 for the Trojans.
Both teams have done an excellent job of possessing the ball, not turning it over. Only 4 for Wekiva and 3 for Evans. Some hard work underneath there by Caballero.
Asiel Caballero is fouled on the putback attempt. He'll go to the line and shoot 2. The foul is called against number 3, Collis Griffin. That'll be his first personal foul, the team's first this half.
Nice stroke there by Caballero. Caballero now has 3 points. Can't get the second free throw to go.
Griffin on the rebound, and we got some trouble on the other end, and that ultimately gets stolen by Q Roberson. Stokes didn't like what he saw, goes out to Hammond instead. Jamarick Hammond is fouled on the floor. The Mustangs will get the ball at the opposing baseline. The foul is called against number 4, Jashawn Melvin on the push. That's his second personal foul and the team's second. Q Roberson for 3 from Hammond.
I think they've ran that inbound pass a few times, Mark.
And then just as impressive at the other end, stripped away by Edouard on the up from Griffin. So now we're back to a 4-point ball game, and Neil, this is a lot better than we've seen from the Mustangs in the third quarter at home so far this year.
And just as you said that, Mark, we get a foul here on the defensive end.
Foul is called against number 1, Donovan Stokes. That's his second personal foul. Team's first. Yeah, I would judge that to be a good foul. Stokes had the right idea there. He just got called on the body.
Yeah, that really was not Stokes' fault. It was Wekiva as a team failed to get the offensive rebound. They didn't rotate over and fill the lane properly.
Returning to the game for the Mustangs, Tristan Bryan.
Both teams have gone man-to-man, half court throughout this game.
Oh my, I think Hammond got away with traveling there, but no harm, no foul. Well, maybe some harm because Q Roberson steals it from Griffin after the rebound. Ryan to Roberson, it's in there. Q Roberson for 3 from Tristan Bryan.
Great passing set up that play there, inside, outside, back, outside.
Collis Griffin on a long assist from Osborne in transition. Good work in transition there by the Trojans. Bryan had a good look under the basket. Offensive rebound goes to Edouard. He's got it. Nikhil Edouard on a Mustang jumper.
Edouard.
Mustangs close the Trojan lead to 3.
And the Wekiva bench is now chanting defense.
Jashawn Melvin for 3, the pass from Osborne.
And as much as it pains me, Mark, Evans has done an excellent job of answering every potential run here by Wekiva.
Q Roberson spins for 2. Back to a 4-point ball game. And you can certainly feel the energy level in the arena going up as each of these teams really build that offensive dynamic that they didn't have in the first half. Jashawn Melvin on a short jumper will pause for a Mustang timeout. Full timeout called by the Mustangs. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. Mark Barchi here with Neil Fisher, ready to take you through the last 9 minutes and 17 seconds of this ball game. Mustangs keeping it interesting in spite of their halftime deficit. Good look there from Roberson. Won't fall for him, but he gets in there and gets his own rebound. Nice follow through. .60 seconds to go in the third. And the ball gets lost to a steal. Third personal foul called against Nikhil Edouard. That's the team's second, and it'll send Arthur Johnson to shoot two. Mustangs certainly got a reaction from the crowd on that last blocked shot. Wild shot from Stokes there. That takes us to the end of an exciting third period. The Mustangs and the Trojans, Mustangs 16, Trojans 17 in that quarter. And so we'll go into the final 8 minutes with an 8-point ball game. 47-39 is your score with 1 quarter left to play here on Friday Night Basketball Action. The Mustangs have the opening possession of the fourth quarter. And as soon as Hammond finds the half-court marker, there he goes. All right, fourth quarter underway. Mark Varchi and Neil Fisher back with you to close this triple header out. We're going to start with a three from Edouard that won't fall. Rebound to Curry. Oh, but he gives the ball back. Hammond to Bryant for two.
So looking at the stats here again, Mark, field goal percentage has really dictated this game, but now free throws have also played a role.
Jashawn Melvin from Arthur Johnson. And speaking of Jashawn Melvin, he just hit 20 points for the night. Tristan Bryan is fouled on the floor. The foul called against Jashawn Melvin. That's his third personal foul. And the team's third.
Impressive mark with 20 points. Evans actually has shot, it's not just, Evans has taken 11 free throw attempts compared to only 3 for Wekiva, and they've shot the ball fairly well, making 8 of 11, Wekiva 2 of 3, so that's a 6-point difference, and we entered the fourth quarter with an 8-point lead.
Traveling Mustangs ball, checking into the game for the Mustangs, number 10, Isaiah Laster.
So field goal percentage remains significantly in Evans' favor, 50%, 17 of 34, while Wekiva struggled at 36, 16 of 45. Again, they started off respectable. They were shooting 43% at the end of the first quarter. It then dropped to 32. It's now gone up a little bit more. Got a little bit better there, 36%, but still, it's 50 for Evans and 36 for Wekiva, and you're not going to win many games when you're facing a 14-point percentage deficit. And at the
Edouard can't get the jumper to go. The rebound goes to Curry. Curry on the pass to Melvin. 22 points for Melvin now tonight. Here comes Hammond for 3, a little off the mark, but an offensive rebound to Laster. Mustangs get another go at this possession. Trailing by 10, 6:30 to go.
Both teams have done a very nice job of holding on to the ball. Only 5 turnovers for both teams.
Checking into the game for the Trojans, number 13, Henry Calixte. And for the Mustangs, Q Roberson is back. So the Mustangs catch a break here as the ball went out of bounds off of Evans. And Neil, relative to the performance we saw from the Mustangs in the second half of ball games through November and December, this is marked improvement. However, a loss is still a loss on the record.
Yeah, and it's a good way to put it there, Mark.
Isaiah Laster is fouled on the way up. He'll go to the line and shoot 2 for the Mustangs. Trojan foul is called against number 4, Jashawn Melvin, on the arm. That's his 4th personal foul, the team's 4th. And now this could be a game changer. Melvin has 22 out of the team's 51 points, nearly half of all scoring for the night for the Trojans, and he just picked up his 4th foul, and we've got a sub at the table who is presumably going to take over for him.
And again, back to what you were saying about Wekiva playing better in the second half compared to their previous contest, but still a loss is a loss. We have a 10-point lead here. Wekiva's done a very good job of not really falling any further behind. They were down by 7 at the half. And if we get this free throw, which we did, so it's 9 points, so they've only fallen 2 points further behind, but nonetheless, they haven't really done anything to really force the issue of making Evans have to get back to re-extending the lead.
Jamari Brown waits his turn for 2 on the pass from Clark.
And we saw that all through the third quarter where Wekiva would make some inroads, and then Evans comes back, and they make a couple of very good passes, and they go back up by 7, 8, 9 points.
Second chance basket by number 11, Jared Bryan. Foul is called against number 3, Jamark Hammond, on the block. It's his first, the team's 3rd. And Avery Anderson went down hard there. We're going to give the trainers a chance to look at him.
Still got 5 minutes, 19 seconds left here in the fourth quarter. And as I started to say, Mark, Wekiva actually has played much better.
Avery Anderson shaken up on the play. He makes his way off with the assistance of our training and coaching teams.
As far as the overall quality, they do look a lot crisper. They do look a lot sharper. They're not making as many mistakes. But, of course, they have not been able to really do anything to cut into the lead. They've done a good job of being able to avoid the lead from becoming too far to be able to win, but they haven't done anything to cut into it.
No basket. Offensive charge called on Isaiah Laster, his third, the team's fourth. Charge taken by Deshaun Osborne.
And there's a perfect example of what I was explaining, not doing anything to really cut into the lead.
Yeah, that could have been a real momentum changer if that steal had converted to points rather than a turnover.
But, again, there's where the inexperience in the youth comes in. The Evans defense had clearly established position under the basket.
Yeah, and that's good work by Osborne, who just lost the ball to a steal, did not lose his mental composure, and caused a turnover to come right back to the Trojans. Bad ball handling. The Trojans will get away with it as they get the ball back out to Clark. We're going to see how much of a difference it makes to not have Melvin in the game for the next few minutes. And now we're going to get a charge call going the other way. Offensive charge called against Jamari Brown, taken by Bryan. That's Brown's first personal foul, the team's fifth.
And remember, 7 fouls, you get into the bonus. So I was going to say here, obviously if you're Evans, you don't want to commit a turnover, and you certainly don't want to commit it with a foul. However, with that 9-point lead, and again, the lead never really being given up, being cut into the lead, never getting to less than 7 points, Evans can certainly afford a turnover in a charge causing the turnover.
Asiel Caballero back in.
Evans certainly can afford that turnover a lot more than Wekiva could on the other end.
Caballero gets fouled on the attempt. He'll go to the line and shoot two for the Mustangs. Foul is called against the Trojans. Number 24, Tristan Curry. That's his first personal foul, and it's the team's sixth. So there's another potential advantage for the Mustangs going into the last 4.5 minutes. They will now enjoy bonus for the rest of the ball game as Collis Griffin returns to the game.
And I mentioned at the beginning of this quarter, only 3 free throws have been attempted by Wekiva. This is their fourth and fifth. And you got to make those free throws, Mark. I mean, those are points left on the board, on the table.
All right, so 4:29 to go in the ball game. The Mustangs still trailing by 9, 2 points more than they trailed at halftime. So they have definitely hung in there. They just have not made any progress against that deficit. But as we mentioned, 2 key advantages. One is that Melvin has 4 fouls and should have limited minutes for the rest of the ball game. And 2 is the fact that the Mustangs enjoy bonus for the rest of the ball game. We're going to pause here for a moment as the Trojans request a 30-second timeout. And we'll be right back.
So Evans continues to hold on to this lead by virtue of the field goal percentage remains 52 to 33%. Neither team playing very well out of this timeout. However, again, if you're Evans, you have a 9-point lead. You can afford the sloppiness far more than Wekiva.
And an anemic jumper by Griffin will go to Bryan on the rebound. That's Jared Bryan. I have to remember we have two Bryans in the game, although not currently. Three not there for Stokes, a little too shallow on the approach. Griffin on the rebound will go the other way.
Both teams remaining in man-to-man defense.
Good look by Clark, but it's just not there for him. Hammond on the rebound for the Mustangs.
3:10 left, so Wekiva's got to start making a move as far as cutting into that lead.
Donovan Stokes and one. Foul called against number 11, Jamari Brown. That's his first personal foul. And it's the team's seventh. Checking into the game for the Trojans.
So if you're Wekiva,
Melvin, Washington, and Curry.
So if you're Wekiva, what just happened there with the field goal, the drive, the field goal, and the free throw attempt by Stokes is exactly what you need coming out of this timeout. But now can they convert it? Again, they've had opportunities to get over that hump of about 7 points. They have yet to do it, though. So now for the first time since the second quarter, it's a 6-point deficit. As I mentioned, 7 was that magical number.
Technical foul is called against Deshaun Osborne. That's his second personal foul. And the team's eighth. At the line, shooting 2 for the Mustangs, Donovan Stokes. Well, that's just what the Trojans didn't need.
Is that a turnover?
It was a technical foul.
Oh. No, I thought there was a turnover and then the technical.
No, it was a rebound.
Oh, okay. So I mentioned on the last trip, Stokes getting the 3-point play, exactly what Wekiva needs, not just to cut the lead, but momentum. And now they get a huge, huge break, almost like after some of the breaks that have gone against them, the basketball gods are evening the situation out. And now they take advantage of that break for the first time.
Mustangs narrowly avoid a backcourt violation. Coach Lubin was trying to milk that for a free timeout, which he could use because he only has 2 left.
And again, here as Wekiva sets up, I always say the technical, yes, the free throws have an impact, but the even bigger impact is getting the ball remaining with the team that shoots the free throws. In this case, Wekiva does not take advantage of that advantage yet again.
Full timeout called by the Trojans. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. Mark Barchi and Neil Fisher here to take you through the last 135 seconds of this ball game. which promised to be exciting. The Mustangs have trailed the entire way here, save for the very beginning, the very first minute of the game. And now they are within striking distance. It's a two-possession ball game.
Yeah, and I don't think you need to be a basketball guru to understand Wekiva needs to come up with a couple of consecutive stops here on defense. They remain in man-to-man, and they got that break.
Now the miss there by Griffin, and the rebound goes to Caballero, who passes it off. Oh, not good on the other end, though. Opportunity in transition, and they will cash in as Jashawn Melvin goes coast to coast for two. Well, he may have 4 fouls, but he's back in the game now, and he just made it an even 24 points for the night.
Yeah, those might be the two most important of the entire game, not just because it reestablished a 6-point lead, but momentum. Old Mo strikes again.
And we're going to pause here to clean the floor. Floor was refinished here at Mustang Arena over the summer. It looks beautiful. And I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but it does seem that we've had a lot of game stoppages this season due to a wet floor. Maybe somebody squirted Rain-X on it, I don't know.
So again, Wekiva gets an opportunity, but then they turn the ball over. And again, those turnovers, it's not just the fact that you lose the ball, but you give momentum back to your opponent. And we saw an example there. And now, as we get under a minute, 10 seconds, that's just such a lethal turn, about 4 points there.
Stokes to Roberson for 3.
Well, it's not quite over yet, and Wekiva again shows that they're young and inexperienced, but they have great potential.
Mustangs still need to make up 3 more, but they've closed it as tight as it's been since early in the second quarter.
Yeah, and I'd say we are really seeing, again, what I just said there. I'm not sure if you could hear me as the crowd got noisy, but they're very young and experienced, make mistakes. Much of the time they take 1 step forward and 2 backwards, but they have great potential.
Timeout, Trojans. Full timeout called by Evans. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. 41.4 ticks left.
So again, field goal percentage 47-33 in favor of Evans.
Mr. Biabi said for another room call their ride.
I did, twice.
Oh, he just said it.
Another timeout requested by Evans.
Onto the ball here and take some time off the clock. Work for a good shot. They've also, right now, the rebounding, which is 32-25 in favor of Evans, has carried them into, or at least allowed them to maintain this lead late into the ball game.
Block is called against number 1, Donovan Stokes. That's his third personal foul. The team's fifth at the line shooting is number 22, Deshaun Osborne.
So obviously need to get free throws here if you're Evans. And your first objective has been accomplished now. That's getting the lead back up to 4 points, 2 possessions. Smooth stroke there. $10 points for Osborne. Those are perhaps the two most important.
Stokes and 1. Block is called against number 5, Surrey Washington.
And I
That's
think
his third personal foul, the team's 9th. So now the Mustangs enjoy double bonus for the next 24.6 seconds.
And I think your voice there, the tone of your voice just described that drive as Stokes gets the field free throw. It's a 1-point game. So again, a drive, a mistake you've been seeing Wekiva make throughout the game, failing to rotate on interior defense on the second pass. Evans makes it this time. And now another mistake. 20 seconds, got a shot here at winning the ball game. Just like that, 3 consecutive mistakes, and Wekiva calls a timeout to set what could be the potential game-winning field goal attempt.
Full timeout called by the Mustangs. All right, welcome back to Mustang Arena. 17.6 seconds remaining in the ball game. Mustangs have an opportunity to tie or take the lead here.
20 seconds. Want to get that ball inside or kick it out.
For the win. Off the mark. Hollis Griffin gets the rebound. Foul called against number 12, Nikhil Edward. That's his 4th personal foul, the team's 6th.
High risk, high reward. Now you got a foul. And that's why I am a more conservative there. I understand you want to go for the win. But nonetheless, you have an opportunity to set
Jamara Hammond is called on the foul. At the line shooting bonus, Aaron Clark.
Evans, all the momentum was with Wekiva if you go into overtime.
Evans has been good at the free throw line all night. They are now 11-14. The Mustangs will spend their final timeout. Full timeout called by Wekiva. Ladies and gentlemen, we remind you to please disable flashes and video lighting when recording tonight's game. And that takes us to the end of a thrilling ball game. (59-55) is the final score here on Friday night basketball action as the Trojans fight off a valiant Mustang comeback attempt. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you so much for coming out tonight to support your Trojan and Mustang athletes. Thanks also to those of you who tuned in on the NFHS Network or YouTube Live. Your next chance to catch the ladies is coming up tomorrow at Mainland at 1:30 and 3 o'clock. Your next chance to catch the gentlemen is coming up next Tuesday at home against Dr. Phillips. We hope that you will join us for those contests. Please drive carefully and arrive home safely. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
Players returning from last year's main rotation, and even though they have improved quite a bit, we still see that they have a ways to go. Tonight was exactly that example. They played, as we mentioned, they fell behind early. They played well enough into about halfway through the fourth quarter to be able to keep the lead close enough to still have a shot of winning, but they weren't able to cut the lead down to below 7. And then, with about 2 minutes left, the next minute and a half, they suddenly show the poise and the actual play of an experienced team, taking advantage of Evans' mistakes. They had 3 mistakes, a couple of turnovers, bad decision as far as the shot they took. Wekiva forced a couple of turnovers from Evans, and you get a one-point game. So you get a 1-point game, and then they go back, and again, they take a high reward play in that last possession there after cutting the lead all the way down to 1. And that was pretty much it when they missed that. As I mentioned As I mentioned at the time, I understand you got all the momentum. You want to seize that momentum and try to go into win the game at that time. But in a situation like that, I always am an advocate for taking the 2-point shot, work it inside, especially since you were scoring inside on the 2 previous possessions. You got the momentum heading into overtime.
Yeah, Neil, you're absolutely right. And as I mentioned earlier in the game, there's, I think, a lot for Coach Lubin to like off of this loss. It is definitely something to build on. It's better performance, more sustained performance. The Mustangs actually outscored the Trojans by a shade in the second half. It was that 7-point deficit from the first half that did them in. But we saw some things from the Mustangs that some major improvement in areas that they really struggled with in November and December. And so maybe that Christmas tournament that they participated in down at Dr. Phillips maybe taught them some lessons. They got some rest and relaxation. Hopefully over the holiday break they seemed a little bit more recharged tonight. Certainly had more stamina than we've seen from them in the first half of the season. And so this is, even though unfortunately it still counts just the same in the loss column, and the Mustangs will now drop their record to being 2 wins, and this will now be their 13th loss. It points the Mustangs in a positive direction, I think, for the remainder of the season going into the rest of January and February as they start to think about the postseason.
Yeah, I think if you want to sum it up, and I mentioned this with about a minute left as they were cutting the lead all the way down to 1 point, Wekiva is a team that still, again, has moved much farther as far as the progression than where they were at the beginning of the season. However, they still got a ways to go, and that's because of the youth and the inexperience. However, they have great potential, and we saw some of that potential come to fruition tonight. A very up and down game as far as making some mistakes, which allowed Evans to take the lead and then maintain that 7-point lead until about the last minute. And then we saw some great play out of them, which showed that they can really cause a lot of damage and create the momentum and really take control of a game as far as being able to exert their force and will. When it all comes down to it, though, again, probably just made 1 or 2 too many mistakes.
Absolutely, Neil. So, again, still the Mustangs didn't want to get a loss tonight, but I think that there are some positive learnings they can take away from this. They can feel good about the way that they played and feel like they are moving in the right direction as they approach the postseason. As we mentioned at the close of the game, the girls will be on the road tomorrow at Mandarin, 1:30 JV girls, 3 o'clock varsity girls. If you're looking at an older copy of the schedule, you may have that the boys are supposed to play tomorrow at Mandarin. That portion of it has been canceled because of some scheduling miscommunications, but the boys are back in action Tuesday night against Dr. Phillips. We will be here for that as well. We hope that you will as well. You're, of course, most encouraged to come and see us in person and cheer on your Mustang athletes. Although if you can't do so, we always welcome you to tune in on the NFHS Network or YouTube Live. My thanks to Neil Fisher from the Apopka Chief joining me tonight on each of our nights for Mustang basketball action. My name is Mark Barchi, the voice of the Mustangs, wishing you a good night and a great weekend.